hello out there, wherever you are. As for me, well, I am in Monessen, Pennsylvania, and we are here to check out Castle Blood. I have not been here before, so I was very curious to see, because I've heard many things about Castle Blood, and it gets a lot of good reviews, and I was always curious about it. Now, I did reach out to the people at Castle Blood to see if I could film, and they said I could not, sadly. So this is going to be more a review than it is a walkthrough, sadly, of Castle Blood. But very curious to step inside and see what this is all about. I believe this is a old funeral home, is what this is based on. And I heard it's different than kind of your standard haunted house. So we're going to check it out and see what it's all about. Let's step in to Castle Blood. Well, really, I'll step into Castle Blood and see what it's all about and tell you about it on Tom Was Here.
Hey, how do you like this? I'm Dan Israel, and you're watching Tom Was Here.
So before I get into my review of Castle Blood, Castle Blood's celebrating its 30th year, and I believe it was a former funeral home, and I would assume it was a place that is considered haunted. I'll be honest, I'm just blanking at the moment. I can't remember if I looked into this to see if it was haunted or it is haunted. I would assume with an older funeral home they've turned into a haunted house, that there is some paranormal element. Now, normally, and for the most part, I am a skeptic in this regard, but every once in a while something will pop up that intrigues me. And we took some pictures outside of Castle Blood for, potential thumbnails for the video or for Instagram, and we came across a picture that I'm going to show now. And I'll be honest, I don't know the details as far as the iPhone and what occurs here, but I took a picture and I had the flash on. And when you're taking a picture in selfie mode with the flash on, basically the screen just becomes really white, and that's what they're using for the flash, for brightening it. And then when you snap a picture, then it snaps, and then the brightness. So I did that a couple times, took a few pictures, and then on the third attempt, there was no flash. I didn't turn it off or anything, but it took the night slow motion, like stand in place picture. So it was doing that, and it spun around, and produced this result. So, like I said, I'm not familiar. I haven't taken enough night mode pictures to see if this is something that can be recreated or if this is something just bizarre. I'm going to throw it out there to the paranormals and the skeptics among us to see what everybody's thoughts are on this. But as you can see, I look solid in the picture. But the boy, you can actually see through him in the image. I wouldn't even know how to doctor that, to be honest with you. This appeared right when the picture was taken. So I never saw an image like this on the iPhone where you could actually see through someone that was in the picture. And I don't know if that's because maybe he didn't stand still and he was kind of moving around and it requires you to stand still and it creates this blur. But his face looks solid. But in his head, like, you can actually see the house behind his face, which is, it's a bizarre picture that came up. And like I said, I don't know the details on the inner workings of iPhone, if this is something that happens and is common with that particular style. But I do find it interesting that it did not flash like the other cameras flashed and then produce this as a result. So I leave it up to you, YouTube, to comment and say, is this just him moving around and it caused just a blur in the image, a strange blur in the image, or is this something a little freaky? Let me know in the comments down below, but let's get into our review of Castle Blood, and I'll let you know a little bit more about it. Okay, so Castle Blood, let's talk about it. This is definitely different than what your standard haunted house fare is. It's almost half performance art, kind of, half escape room type vibes, with a little bit of haunted house elements thrown in. So the idea is that, it's kind of like, there's another place that we went to recently where you're taken from scene to scene, and that person has kind of a longer dialogue or story to tell, and those characters that are acting are pretty good, for the most part. Like, they are, so they're doing their, in some cases they have accents, they have backstories, they have, a game that has to be played. So they're keeping you in this room for a certain period of time. And normally when someone goes, oh, you can't film anything, and I go into the haunted house, I go, well, why can't I film anything? A lot of haunted house elements are people that, people keep it close to the vest, like magicians. They don't want all the secrets to be revealed. But in this circumstance with Castle Blood, I kind of understand it, because it is there's a little bit of a show aspect to it, whereas each character keeps you in their respective room for a period of time and goes over the game, and the idea is that there's an end game associated with it, and then, passing through these different rooms gets you a little trinket, and that trinket then gets handed off to someone in your group, and then at the end of the show, I guess you could say, you get to keep your trinkets. Certain trinkets. Not all the trinkets are offered, but you do get some level of trinket to take home. So yeah, as you roam through from room to room, when you pass your objectives or sometimes somewhat fail your objectives, we were not perfect in any regard, and luckily we were with a pretty good group of people as well. I've had good luck when I've gone to these haunted houses, because sometimes it's a group of, say, 2 or 3, sometimes 4. And luckily, when they pair us with people I found in haunted houses, the people that we got paired with were pretty cool, and they were helpful in the game. There were certain aspects of this game that we could have not done without these people. So kudos to them. If you're watching this, you know who you are. That we happen to be grouped together, and we were able to make it out of Castle Blood. But yeah. So if you're coming into this and you're looking for a standard haunted house experience, I can tell you with authority, this isn't it. This is something different. You have to go in with that mindset, and you have to be open to this. Whenever you're watching a scary movie, and you have to decide from right then and there that whatever happens, as soon as the credit, this is how I watch scary movies. You might watch them your own way, but here's how I watch scary movies. When the credits start, you have to be in. You have to be committed to what this story is going to tell you as much as possible for the immersion level. So it's a tricky game that Castle Blood's running, where if you're into it, it's great. You feel an immersive experience, and the characters do their level best to try that. If you are not 100% dialed in, then it might be like, meh, like it was a little disappointing. I said, I'm not condemning Castle Blood for that. I'm condemning the person that's coming in with a different mindset. You have to come in and be enveloped into this world. That's how it has to be played. So if you come in and you're like, well, I'm just looking for something, haunted, I want to be scared, whatever, this is not necessarily that. This is something different. No other place, I can tell you, as far as I know, in Pittsburgh has anything like this. But that also depends on what you're looking for as well. So if you're looking for something different than the standard one path haunted house, come to Castle Blood and check it out. The characters I felt were all pretty good. I didn't notice any breaks in any of the characters. Everybody was committed to their respective roles, which is good. They have an element where you're collecting little trinkets through each room, and that kind of leads to a goal aspect. Now, I don't feel particularly that the goal portion paid off in a satisfying way to me, but that's more critical to me. But I guess that's a way to also keep your trinkets, of which I have a couple here. I received a little, and I don't know, do the trinkets change? I'll be honest, I don't know this. Maybe if you've been to Castle Blood, but basically every little room you get like a little something for completing your level. One of them was this, which is a piece of cotton. And then one of them was this little tombstone right here. That'll go on my little own cabinet of curiosities I keep at my house. But yeah, so you get little trinkets, and you get to keep those trinkets at the end of the night, which is an interesting touch. Obviously, there are certain things like they're not like anything super great by any stretch. You're not getting like some special prize or anything. But it was cool to see the trinket element put into this, because nobody, as far as I know, has really done that before. In fact, there was a haunted house we went to the night before that introduced a trinket element as well, but only one trinket element, and I, of course, gave it to the wrong person in the haunt. So that's on me, because they were expressly clear in their rules who to give it to, and I gave it to the wrong person. Anywho. Castle Blood, like I said, I don't really do reviews where I'm doing like ratings or thing. It's just I have to be here to tell you my thoughts on it, and you can decide whether, this is something you're interested in or something you're not interested in. If you're looking for, like I said, a haunted house experience, this is not exactly that. If you're looking for something that is, more interactive, with very character driven, this may be the way to go. So tickets for Castle Blood are $25 if you get them online, and I don't know if they actually offer tickets at the gate, but if you get them online, there's a service fee as well, so it ends up being about like $28 a piece, something like that, which you're in there a pretty good long time. I didn't actually review the time frame of it. What time is it? So it's 10:53 now. We got in there at 9:30, so let's say we got out of here at say maybe we were in there about an hour. Could be a little less than that, to be honest with you. But, it also depends, I think, on your group and how quickly you want to kind of go through this. But I think it's about an hour. So about an hour of going through various rooms and various characters. So for an hour's worth of, that time for $25, that's fine. If you were in there for, say, like 20 minutes, I would be like, well, that's a little bit, thing. But the idea is that you're also... each character is keeping you in a room for, say, like 5 minutes at a time. So you have to keep that in mind, that each character is going to keep you in a room for a certain period of time, and as part of their scene. So these characters are going through, and sometimes long dialogues, like incredibly long, very detailed dialogues, or stories or games or elements. So you have to factor that in as part of it, where you're not getting like, boo, jump scare. Boo, somebody's coming running out at you. You do get that as well. It's just, it's limited in between, and it's more like your path from room to room, where somebody's going to hit you with a jump scare, and then you're going to walk into another room, and then you'll go into like another game or another long story that kind of ties into the game that's being told. And some of the stories actually play out pretty good. So, in some cases they tell you something or they show you a clue of something and it pays off in a later room, which I thought was a nice touch. I didn't think, it was something where, because a lot of them were kind of isolated to their own room. They had a game to play in their own room, but a couple of them actually had one that had a payoff in an earlier room, or a clue in an earlier room that paid off in like the next room or the room after, something like that. So there are elements of that too. So you have to kind of be aware of what you're getting into in that circumstance. You have to decide if that's how you want to spend your evening. Now, Castle Blood, we were going to come out here at about 7:30, because that's usually when we hit up most haunts. And in this circumstance, every time from 7 p.m. on was sold out. We got one of the last times of the night, which was 9:30. So, yeah. It's definitely one that will sell out pretty quickly. Now, I know this is this is considered the Super Bowl weekend for most haunted attractions. That haunts are usually booked pretty solid because a lot of people do Halloween parties on Halloween weekend. So this weekend, the weekend before Halloween, is considered a very busy weekend in the industry. So it was cool to check out Castle Blood and kind of check that off the list. I said I would like to be able to film in there. I don't know if I could actually be able to film in there based on how they present themselves. Maybe even just like the opening scene or something. I don't have to film everything. Just let me film a taste here and there, just to give people what they're going to get into. That's my plea to the people at Castle Blood that are watching this. I know they won't listen. That's fine. But yes, so, I liked it. It was definitely different than kind of the haunted house experience I'm used to. And I like the unknown aspect of that. Sometimes when you're, you've kind of done a ton of haunts, of which the last few years I've done a ton of haunts, you like to get in something that's a little bit different than kind of what you've been getting into, just to see kind of where the story takes you. So I knew going in that there was some interactive elements, some story elements to this. So I was like, okay, I'm dialed in. I am in this weird funeral home, haunted mansion type thing, and I'm willing to buy whatever's being, given here. So that was the mindset I had to go in. I do feel you have to have that same mindset. But let me know your thoughts on Castle Blood. Have you checked it out before? Have you liked it? Did you not like it? Just curious to hear everybody's comments. But what I would say, just final thoughts is that the actors are really good at what they do. And they're delivering, these experiences and these game elements. I was hoping kind of for maybe more level of, I don't know if it's like, I'll be honest, I don't know if they change it up every year. That's another thing. I'd be curious to see if they change it up every year. But the game elements were cool. I would have liked more of a, maybe if there was like a room where like you had to like kind of do something, work together with your team to escape from. They kind of presented it that way, but really not everybody in the team kind of had to participate. The idea is that they, it was somewhat optional. People could just stand there and watch and, do that. But, I think if it's something they change up every year, I would be curious to check it out again. But if it's something where they did not, then I wouldn't necessarily need to check it out again. But yeah, as far as Castle Blood, like I said, I appreciate that they're doing something different. As far as a haunt experience, I don't think it's that exactly. And I think you have to be in the right frame of mind for it. But if you are in the right frame of mind for it, the characters will pull you in and you'll have a good experience as a result. But I don't, and I could be wrong on this because I didn't mind it, but I don't know if that's everybody's particular cup of brandy. But, to each its own on that one, I would say. I would say if you haven't checked it out before, to check it out, and you have to go in with the mindset of like you're in this experience, and see how it plays out versus just determining like I'm waiting for the scares, because there's not a ton of them. I will tell you that most importantly. There's not a ton of like jump scares or thing scares. There's a few. There's definitely a few. Sorry, let me clarify. There's some. There's some. More than a few, I would say there's some, but not a ton compared to other haunted houses. Let's put it that way. But that'll wrap it up. From Castle Blood, Monessen, PA, this is definitely something different than your standard haunted house walkthrough. That we can say. I mean, you watch the review. You know, it's like, this is not your standard haunted house walkthrough. It's definitely more performance art, almost like what I would assume like a murder mystery dinner type thing is, with a Halloween vibe. So if you're looking for that level, definitely check out Castle Blood. But guys, thanks so much for watching. If you are new here, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Oh wait, what? Like to support me on Patreon, you can do so. Link is in the description below. If you'd like to buy a t-shirt, a Tomwashere t-shirt, you can do so at Spreadshirt, as well as links to my eBay store, Facebook page, Instagram, Clubhouse, and the Pennsylvania Autograph Collectors Association. Links are in the description below. But when it comes to Castle Blood, for their 30th season, and for the 2022 season, I can say, then my name is Tom, and I was here. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. Bye, everyone.
Bye.